Hey y'all, my name is Rebecca Staples and you're watching or listening to another episode of the Bigger Pie Forum podcast. We are continuing in our series on brain drain. And usually when we open this, I give a short summary. Brain drain is the concept, perception, or reality of young people leaving Mississippi for other opportunities. And that's important because Mississippi's population needs to grow at a much faster pace if we're to keep up with our southeastern neighbors. I think we're doing pretty good. We've got a great panel today. I'm excited, a lot of girl power in this room. So I want to start with some introductions, and I'm really excited for this topic. So, all right, I'm going to look at Danielle to start.
My name's Danielle Ashley. I'm from Laurel, and same place that Rebecca's from, the Free State of Jones. I grew up in Laurel, and I went to Mississippi College for undergrad and then Ole Miss for law school, and came back to Laurel. Had a great opportunity to work for the Jones County Board of Supervisors, so I've been there for 10 years now.
All right, Danielle, I did notice you left out your high school, which we went to high school.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Northeast Jones.
Okay, go Tigers.
Very influential across the state now. We've got graduates everywhere, so yeah.
That's right. Okay, cool. All right.
I'm Shelly Allen, so I'm from Laurel as well. I went to Mississippi State and then moved to Brandon, Mississippi after I graduated, lived there for a couple of years, and then got an opportunity to move back home and work for the Economic Development Authority. So I took it, moved back, and I've been there about 5 or 6 years now and really enjoyed being back close to my family.
All right, cool.
My name is Mary Paige Chambliss. I graduated from Oak Grove High School. And Joey Fillingane actually gave me a chance to start out here right after high school, just some extra hands in the office. And that actually, led me to this career. That was not my career path. But I found something that I genuinely loved. And then I decided, I'll go ahead and get my degree in this. So I went and got my paralegal degree from Jones County Junior College. And then came back and worked my way up.
Okay, that's awesome. Yes. Well, look, I have to tell you, speaking of unexpected career paths and this whole sort of like young people staying in Mississippi, I never thought I was going to stay in Mississippi until I got involved in politics. And Joey Fillingane is one of the first people I met. Wonderful senator, love him. But I would say he's part of my story and why I'm here too. So way back in the decades ago, so I'm showing my age. Anyway, well, look, we got Ole Miss, we have Mississippi State, we've got Oak Grove, Jones County Junior College. Yes. I'll always call it that. Yes. I know it's Jones College now. What led y'all to pick the education? You kind of spoke to it, but I want to hear more about your decision making in terms of like staying in state versus going out of state. And like whoever wants to take this, y'all feel free.
Well, the community really invested in me. Obviously a family friend, which that's how I came to know him, as he was a good family friend. And he invested in me. So, I kind of felt like, I owe that to my community to give back.
I'll say that everyone who I grew up around who was a Mississippi State fan was the most passionate Mississippi State fan. They loved the school, they loved Starkville, and so it kind of was something I grew up just knowing I wanted to go there. Yeah. People loved it and only had great things to think about their time. And then the first time I toured the campus, it's beautiful. They have beautiful flowers everywhere. They take such great care of the campus, and it just felt like a place I wanted to be, and I really didn't ever consider going anywhere else.
Yeah. All right. That is music to my ears. All right. Okay. Danielle.
So I, of course, went to Northeast. My principal at the time was Cooper Pope, and he was a Mississippi College graduate. And so when it came time to look at schools, I considered Mississippi College. And I also, just a side note, that there was this program that used to be called Junior Miss. Now it's called Distinguished Young Woman. But I met some girls that I ended up rooming with one of them at Mississippi College, and there was a little group of us that went there. And then after Mississippi College, I just wanted to go somewhere different. There was nothing wrong, with MC Law. I just wanted to branch out and experience a different school, different city. So chose Ole Miss.
Okay. Well, kind of what I'm hearing, and this has kind of been a theme in some of our conversations, is influencers in your decision making tend to be family, friends, culture, and a lot of sort of like mentors beyond like family and friends. Can y'all speak to, do you think that is something that today's sort of younger folks, I keep calling them the youth like I'm 85 years old, but I'm going to do that. Y'all are the youth. Do you feel like mentorship is something that's important to y'all? You talked about like giving back to your community, because that is very influencing on folks.
Yeah, very much so. Even throughout high school, the teachers and everybody would, obviously speak to you about, staying and, your education here and that type of thing. Originally, I was on the path to go to Southern Miss and become a nurse, and led my husband down that path. And, he went to Cary and became a nurse, and then he was like, well, you ditched me. I found something I like better, sorry. But yeah, so, if it wasn't for, people like Joey bringing me in and saying, I just need, some extra hands around here, I wouldn't have found what I love doing. And also what I'm really good at doing.
Yeah.
So.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
I think in my experience working, usually I've been on the younger side of the people in the room. And so that's such an opportunity because you're surrounded by so much experience and so much wisdom. And I've been really fortunate, especially since moving back to Laurel, I think, to just have a bunch of people around me constantly who are really invested in not just the community that I'm trying to work to grow, but me as a person. They either have known me my whole life or known someone in my family my whole life. And so that kind of takes it a step further. It's something you definitely wouldn't get if you moved to a city where you don't have roots. It's something that's very much so a benefit of working where you're from and feeding back into your hometown, is having those people care more about your growth and development.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, mentorship is just so important. I was thinking about that, like why I chose to stay in Mississippi. And it was, even people like you, Rebecca. I remember you being in high school and, and then you had teachers, then you moved to professors, and these people, they see your strengths and your weaknesses, and they're able to guide you, and they take the time. That's really what it comes down to, is you have these people who are more experienced than you and older, and they will take the time to be like, well, what do you like to do? Or what do you find interesting about this? And it's just having those conversations. And I wouldn't be, here if somebody didn't say, hey, I think she has potential. Let me have a conversation with her and see where this would go all along the way, all these little steps. You're here today.
Well, one thing, and I know y'all are probably familiar with this, for sure you are, we've talked about it, but I'm really excited about the state's career coaching program, because I think it is a more formalized structure in which there are career coaches in high schools that are mentors to future graduates, to help them identify what are their aptitudes and what are some pathways and jobs that are available. A lot of times I think people, the youth, may not understand there are opportunities in Mississippi. Is that, think about your friends or folks in your world. Is that something, do people understand that there's opportunity here, especially for younger people to have senior or leadership roles, because we do have that opportunity?
I think there's probably a misconception that you have to go somewhere else, that maybe there's not as much opportunity here, but it's all about being able to be connected to people who are more privy to that information, and those career coaches are a great example of that.
I think also we have a little bit of more delayed opportunity. So you might not have the same opportunity on the first day you start working, but I think you have a little bit quicker path to that higher level job in Mississippi. Or at least that's been the case for me. I think that, you might have that perception that, oh, I'm going to have a bigger career if I move to this place with more jobs, but you kind of get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other people on the same level as you entering in. If you choose to stay in a smaller area, a smaller pond, it's a lot easier for you to have those opportunities and have those close mentorships that kind of move you up in those roles faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, she hit the nail on the head. You know, I worked my way up. I started off, you know, just as a helping hand, and then reception, closing, and then ultimately management when that, you know, job came available to me. So it's, if I were to have gone to a bigger office or another state, for one, I probably wouldn't have strengthened my skills like I did here. You know, I learned from the ground up how to do every single thing, you know, in the office and ultimately run it. Whereas if I would have gone to a bigger firm, my opportunity would have been way slimmer. Yeah. And then I also wouldn't have had, you know, the people that took the time to invest in me.
Yeah, no, and that's great. A lot of what I'm hearing is like culture. Of course, I'm like, Mississippi culture is the best. So lighter questions. What is your favorite thing about Mississippi culture? Danielle, you're in my line of sight, so I'm going to start with you again.
Culture. Well, this is
can pick more than
this
one.
is going to contradict everything I'm currently working on. However, I do love the food. I'm sorry. This is the benefit of going first. I love the food in Mississippi, and I love going across the state. Like, I mean, I just get excited. Like, we were talking about going to Jackson. Like, ooh, where can you go now? You know, like even coming to Hattiesburg, it's like, oh, we don't have that in Laurel. I'm going to go there while I'm there. You know, it's just. But I love going, and of course, like local spots too. But I just think we have such good food culture here across the state, and everywhere you go is a little bit different. So that's my favorite part. I say it contradicts because like I'm also trying to like run 5Ks and be super healthy right now. Like I just bought this protein powder and stuff, and I'm like, are you really gonna use that? Like, you know, but we're gonna try it.
Look, I understand there's always this inherent tension. I want to eat, but I want to be healthy. Struggle is real. Yeah.
I think there's so many different types of experiences that you're so close to. I tell companies this all the time when we're trying to recruit them. You're about 2 hours away from whatever you want to do. You're close to 2 hours away from New Orleans. You're close to 2 hours away from the state capital. We're really close to the coast. So you've got a lot of different types of opportunity all around you. And then you also have the opportunity to have a much more relaxed, laid back, small town atmosphere. We're really fortunate. Laurel is the coolest place to live. We've got, you know, state-of-the-art museum. We have a lot of different festivals and live music opportunities. We have beautiful architecture and a really cool city history. And so you get a little bit of the best of both because you're close to all that other stuff. We've even got, you know, a regional airport that takes you right into Houston. And my husband and I have gone just for a concert, come back the next day, and like you still have access to those bigger city amenities with, you know, all this other small town charm around you. So
and can't you just pull up to the airport at Bobby Chain?
Yeah,
you just pull up. Yeah, okay.
Hospitality. It's the hospitality state after all. And people here, they're just better. I just, you know, you can't beat them. They're nice, you know, they'll give you a smile, a hey y'all. I travel a lot, and, you know, I'm always, you know, kind of stunned. I'm like, well, that was so rude. You know, they're not trying to be rude. It's just, you know, it's not the hospitality state anymore.
Yeah. Well, bless their hearts, right?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I think about a lot as a single, young person myself is sort of and I've asked everybody this, y'all, the relationship pool, the pool of candidates. I think both of you are married and you're single. So I want to ask, you know, popcorn, whomever wants to answer, like, do you think that there are enough folks in the age range where it was easy for you to find a husband or a spouse? Is that a challenge that you kind of hear with your own experience or with your friends or family? I'm just curious. This is really top of mind for a lot of younger folks, and even me. So, you know.
I was fortunate enough I didn't have a challenge in that. And I do feel like, especially if you're connected with the community, that you can definitely find a a great person.
Yeah.
So I met my husband at my first job. So back to mentorship, there was, a nice lady who owned a farmer's market in the area. And I was, willing, to get out and go ahead and, get a job and start being independent. And he worked there. And so that's where I met him and just kind of took off from there. But I do think that, some of my friends do struggle with that. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I think it involves, getting out more and being more involved in the community.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's plenty of opportunity at that point.
Yeah.
Can I just interject? Does that not sound like a Hallmark movie? It
kind of is.
I think you made that up.
I didn't.
Okay.
Farmer's market shelling peas, That's where true love happens.
I was going to say, it's like love at the farmer's market, 2 peas in a pod.
Yeah, literally. I think people actually did call us that.
Okay, we're claiming it right now. We want copyrights. We're doing this. Yeah, I love it. Great conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone asked, how did we meet? And I was like, the farmer's market.
It's really adorable.
I think it can be harder than other places, just from a lot of people around me in my life. I certainly was on the later end of my peer group getting married and finding somebody. But I think that there's a lot of really good quality people in Mississippi. But obviously, I think the pool is a little bit smaller than some other places, and that has its challenges. And I think the more rural you go, probably the more difficult it is. So if you're closer to a bigger hub, obviously there's a few more people around, more opportunities to meet them. But I think the more rural you go in Mississippi, definitely the bigger the challenge gets.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. I think it is hard, I consider myself pretty involved and pretty active in the community. Mm-hmm. But it just kind of seems like a lot of people are already married or, taken or whatever. And so it is pretty hard. But, I still continue to stay here and invest and just keep going to farmers markets or going places and meeting people, right? And trying to get connected because you just never know. But I got a new idea now, so that's good.
You never know.
You never know.
That's right. You never know.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned something about it. It's kind of harder in smaller communities, and we are in a very rural state. It has been difficult for communities, if there aren't jobs, to maintain folks. How do you think we keep people in rural communities? I know it's like a very hard question.
One thing that I've been reading a lot about is how some states, like Arkansas, have embraced this idea that maybe they're not always going to attract the biggest industries or the biggest companies or whatever, but they're embracing the fact that they have a low cost of living, which obviously Mississippi does too, and going to target more of those remote work jobs. Somehow incentivizing to kind of draw people in, like if you're in, software development or something that you can do from your home, you can make a lot more money and make that dollar go further in Mississippi than you can in another state where the cost of living is higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that something that we can do as just citizens of the state to help is when you see someone who's new and, a transplant, doesn't have family, younger, is to just kind of take them into your family yourself. When I was living in Brandon after college, I was lucky enough to have some college friends whose family were from there. And the difference it made to have them really just invite me over for family dinner and make you feel like you had that community there. It goes a long way in making you feel like home and feel like you can stay somewhere.
Yeah.
There's that connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people my age say, well, the money is better elsewhere. And that may be true in some instances, but it's more expensive to be there. Also, you don't have the resources that you may have. Like if you're from here, there's a lot of resources here. Obviously, I have my family here. And it's just, I think that is a lot of people's, hold up is that it's, better benefits elsewhere. And, that can, it can be true, but not always.
Right. Right. Yeah. You have to weigh the cost of living versus the
Exactly.
additional expenses
And the help.
Yeah, and the help. And, in a lot of larger cities, housing is almost like price prohibitive for single people. So then you're either living way out, commuting in. It's a lot of, there are a lot of factors to consider. I'm glad you mentioned the remote work idea, though. One thing I'll say is following the pandemic, there were different shifts in migration patterns. And so rural America has seen more influx of population because of remote workers. And I know one community in Mississippi, Natchez, did have a Shift South remote work program. I'm not sure if it's still ongoing, but it was hugely successful. And I think that's a really interesting example because Southwest Mississippi is very rural, lower population. And so love that you brought that up. Okay, Shelley, you are on a daily basis interacting and thinking about workforce capacity, pipeline, trying to recruit companies to the Pine Belt area, Laurel, Jones County. Danielle just said something about Arkansas kind of like embracing more of a, hey, we may not always get the big industry, but let's look at other opportunities. I'm just wondering, in your line of work, do you see any sort of shifts in like big industries coming to rural America? I know the Southeastern has been very attractive, as well as what are your thoughts on like entrepreneurship? Is that something that you're seeing in the community too?
Yeah, and I think, especially with us having the Career Coach program, just getting the pulse on that younger generation, a lot of those kids want to be entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. They might not necessarily know what that means, but they've heard it. They like the lifestyle that they hear goes with it. So I think there's an appetite for that. Mm-hmm. As far as bigger industry wanted to come to the Southeast, this has definitely been a huge boom. I mean, the Southeast is very business friendly. Mississippi is very business friendly. And so a couple years ago, the big question was, how are we going to solve the workforce problem? Mm-hmm. Well, a few years into it, the state's done a lot of work, Jones County's done a lot of work, but the industry now knows there's a workforce problem in the entire country. It's not just the South, it's not just Mississippi. So it's almost removed that barrier from us because it's something the companies are solving for themselves instead of just looking into the community and saying, what can you do for me? And so they've become partners with the community instead of just locating where they know they're going to have an excess of people. To toot Jones County's horn, we have a really good workforce that's just generations long of manufacturing. When a manufacturer wants to come, they can kind of look at our existing industry and the generations that have gone into workforce, specifically industrial manufacturing workforce, and just know that these people know how to do this. It's their way of life. They like it. And so we're really fortunate when we're selling the county to have that on our side. But also, we're not always targeting huge industry and huge manufacturers because we don't want to hurt our existing industry. Right. We don't want to try and sell our area to someone who's going to come in and it actually won't be a benefit to the county because it's going to wipe out workforce from other industries. And we're looking for that good key that's going to fit into the holes we have in our community and fill us up the way that we need to be filled. And the energy is so great these last couple of years in the state, definitely in our Pine Belt region area. I think that we'll see a couple really good years of growth.
Good. That's exciting. Yeah. But I like that because I kind of think that's analogous to the brain drain, both focus on keeping our people here and recruiting others to locate in Mississippi. Okay, something I like asking our panelists. I'm going to put this in pageant format since we've had, Danielle, at least I know you and I have had a pageant history. Yeah. So if you were going to give a 15-second commercial on why someone should move to Mississippi, what would you say? So I'll start trying to think. Hey, y'all, my name is Rebecca Staples, and I want you to come to the hospitality state. We got great food, great people, low cost, and you're not going to have an issue with housing. Come down. We'll greet you with sweet tea. All right, that's not great, but that's my pitch. That's my pitch. Okay.
If you want to feel like you're part of a big family, you should come to Mississippi. Plus, we have no traffic. We have great food, and there's a friend on every corner.
That's so good. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Like channeling this hospitality, right? Like in the background, like it's there. everywhere, right? It doesn't rhyme, but it's there.
Yeah, I was like, I want to move there. I want a friend on every corner.
Yeah.
I would say good music, good food, good art, good people. Move to Mississippi.
Man, I love it. Perfect.
Good food, good people. Everyone will invest in you, and a helping hand. You'll never be alone.
Oh, okay. I love it. Yes. And speaking of you'll never be alone, I've been doing a lot of research on loneliness among younger people. Is that something you've experienced? Because I think that would be a great selling point for Mississippi, because we have friend on every corner. You'll never be alone.
I have not experienced loneliness.
Okay.
I moved in my house and instantly had a friend within, a few days. And I'm
okay.
like, wow. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and be alone.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen. So no, there is no shortage of friends.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I have, being single for a long time, and watching your friends kind of move into that next stage of life of marriage and kids, and they get real, busy all of a sudden, and then you look up and you're like, oh, here I am,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think I have, but at the same time, I mean, there's no shortage of things to do. You just have to be creative. And I mean, I get rejected a lot by my friends. I tell them, I'm like, even sometimes my parents, like, okay, like this is getting real sad, but you buy a pet and the pet's always there. So it helps.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
Language,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You gotta find hobbies, good hobbies.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot. I love, one of my favorite things I've started doing is I joined a tennis league, and I've made friends with people all different ages from me. And that's so much fun. It's kind of a different level where you have a friend who might be in their 60s and they're, playing next to you, and your friend who might be, 18 or 19. And it's really cool to kind of have those experiences where you've blended generations.
That's, I do feel like that multi-generation connection, which I think we have a lot in Mississippi, for imparting that wisdom is something a lot of other states are lacking. So just another plus in our corner.
Well, especially at church. We've got a lot of very big churches, and it's a wonderful outlet.
Yeah. I love that. Part of that Mississippi culture, too. Yes. All right, so we're all females here. And so I'm going to envision there are other females listening and watching this podcast. Can you tell me about any barriers or opportunities that you've experienced? Because I'll tell you, for the past 20 years in the industry of public policy, politics, it's a very male-dominated field. And I frequently hear feedback from others, oh, well, women can't, elevate, or they're, like the patriarchy has got us down. I'm kind of using that, lightheartedly, but it's something I think about, that I've been able to succeed as a woman. But I'm just curious, have you had challenges, barriers that you think exist here but wouldn't elsewhere?
I was fortunate that at the time the board, I have a different board now, but the board that hired me really embraced the fact that I was a female coming in, and, I had a law degree, which helped. But, they embraced me. And at times I think sometimes people don't know how to handle you, or they have certain perceptions of you. But I often find humor helps a lot. Like if you can just show people that you're just like them, you're no different just because you are a female, or you, have different hobbies than they do, or have a different education level. I mean, we're all the same at the end of the day, and I find that humor helps. And I often get told, I had no idea you were this fun. And I'm like, wow, what kind of perception do I have? I should really smile more. But, yeah. So that's just been my experience. I've been very fortunate to have people that, have invested and come alongside me.
Yeah.
I have too. I think Danielle and I have been lucky that our Jones County leadership is just so supportive of us. I remember being really nervous when I was going on maternity leave and how accommodating that my board was for me. And that was something they went above and beyond, and it made me more dedicated to wanting to stay and work and pour into this organization, because they, decided that I was valuable enough to them that they were going to make sure that I had what I needed to start my family and still be able to come to work. So, I think that it's important to not take things too seriously sometimes. There's always going to be something little here or there you could take the wrong way or be offended by, and humor is a really good thing to bring into it. And just remember, these people, you're working to the same goal that they're working towards. And, I've only been supported my time there, so it's been good. Yeah.
I do think that, sometimes people have the mentality, well, she's a female, and better yet, she's young. She doesn't know,
Yeah.
And, I kind of have gotten to where I have to let that roll off my back. Just refer them to your boss, who's just going to refer them back to you.
That's a classic move
And
right
then,
there.
that's a confidence boost.
Yeah, exactly. Like very direct support right there.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I just know that's something that I hear from other females, sort of, you're living and working in Mississippi as a female? Yeah. I'm like, heck yeah, I am. Well, look, so as migration shifts happen, as the Southeast and Mississippi in particular continues to grow economically, we're wealthier than we used to be, per capita income is up. The reason people move places is a little bit different. And so among the younger folks, the research tells me sort of quality of life is important. Like, do you have amenities, walking trails? Are there churches? Are there music, bars, etc.? Tell me, what are your thoughts on that for Mississippi?
Oh, the amenities are fantastic in my opinion. I mean, we travel a good bit, and I love to travel and see new things, but I can't wait to get home.
Yeah.
Every single time, especially we went to Europe recently, and I'm like, wow, this is beautiful, but I need Target. I need Target. I need to get outside. We have, the longleaf trace. There's tons of things you can do, around here to get involved and, stay active. Mm-hmm. There is no shortage of that.
Danielle and I were actually talking about this before we walked in, because there's a beautiful lake outside where we're sitting. And we were talking about how we do wish we had maybe a little bit bigger of a water feature closer to home. It's so nice to be able to go down to the coast, or, the reservoir is cool if you live in the Jackson area, but we would love something like that. Just a little bit more of like a water recreation. But I think that we do have a lot of beautiful landscape. We've got some beautiful different outdoor recreation opportunities. And so I think we're really fortunate with where we live to have a lot of options, but you can always think of something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely echo what Chili said. But I would love to see that trace extended to Johns County. There were plans. I've been told there were plans many years ago, but I would love to see more walking trails across the state. I know that it presents its own challenges when you have those facilities, but I do think access to those type of things is a huge draw for younger people. Being able to get out and bike and run and walk on things like that, I think that would be a huge help.
You got to burn off those calories from
From
the
all the
sweet
eating.
tea and the cornbread, the butter, the lard, the sugar.
Yeah, there are carbs and butter. Yeah, this is true.
All the good things.
Yeah.
All the good things. All right, ladies, what have we not talked about that you think it would be important for a listener or a viewer to hear who's either living in Mississippi, thinking about leaving, or just listening and wanting to learn more?
Well, I guess, and we've already talked about mentorship, but if you're a younger person working in a certain industry, I think it's worthwhile to look to try to find a mentor. And if you're in the position where you could be a mentor, that's worthwhile too. I mean, I've been so fortunate. I've had a really good mentor in Judge Wayne Thompson. He was the board attorney before I was, and he's really like guided me so much. And I mean, if not for him and some other folks in my industry, like I wouldn't have been able to learn and, grow into this position as much as I have. So that would be my biggest message, is like building relationships with people who are in your industry and really investing in that.
Yeah. And in Mississippi, building those relationships is easier because we're friendlier people.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
All right.
I would say, just investigate the opportunities. I think there's a lot more opportunity in the state than people realize, and just give it a fair shot. I think that you've got to do what's right for you. You've got to do what's right for your family. So if you think that's leaving, you're not going to enjoy being here if you're always wanting to leave. So, invest where you're at. Don't do this 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, explore your opportunities and really look into the state, see what it has for you, and then take advantage of it. And I think it's good to commit. And if you need to leave and come back, sometimes you have a better perspective when you leave and you come back and realize how much there really was here, or these things you thought were better over there. It's just a different side of that coin. And I think a lot of the younger people have this vision of what it's like to leave and go to this other place. And if that's going to be something that haunts you, go do it. And then you can always come back.
Yeah.
Mississippi's going to be here for you. And I think that our opportunities are only going to grow.
And so if someone were going to do research on Jones County, since that's where both of you are based, where would you suggest they start when you said do your own research?
So I think the Ellisville Industrial Park, which that's obviously going to be something that we think about a lot. We're always trying to recruit new industry to our Ellisville Industrial Park, but there's some really cool businesses that are already there, and they've got jobs you wouldn't think of. Just because it's a manufacturer doesn't mean it doesn't have engineering jobs, in-house legal jobs, administrative jobs. Laurel, the hospital, South Central, has had so much growth the last couple of years. They've got a ton of professional jobs. They've got marketing. They've got hospital administration. They've got in-house legal. There's a lot of opportunities within these specific industries that are outside of that.
Yeah.
And so we've just had a lot of growth in our different utility companies. There's so much opportunity within those industry-specific companies that isn't necessarily an energy job or a healthcare job. So just because that's not your lane doesn't mean there's not a place for you there. And some of those companies have the best culture. You get to work around people that are different from you and have different jobs. I always say one of the things that I love the most about economic development is I've had an opportunity to learn about all these different industries and what they do, and it's so interesting. And the opportunity to constantly be learning is so valuable.
Yeah.
And it keeps you excited and keeps you fresh and keeps you from getting bored and tired in your job because you always have something new. So kind of look into those areas that might not be traditionally what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
We might not have a mega marketing firm in the state, but there's those opportunities within other companies, or that's a really good entrepreneurship opportunity if you want to start your own. There's a lot more opportunity to build companies like that now. I think technology's advanced so much. There's so many more tools that you can have in your own home. So that's just kind of what I think of when I think of different ways to capitalize.
Man, I love that because I do think there is sort of this misperception. Manufacturing is dirty and it's just like working with your hands, but it's advanced, and there's all these industries that have sort of like cross collaboration of jobs.
Well, there's, multiple things I could have gone and have done. I could have worked for, a hospital like that. I thought, there for a little while. I had left here, this office, and I had gone to school to finish my degree. And, I kind of thought, do I want to stay in what I was in? Do I want to kind of explore elsewhere? Do I want to go, to a big hospital and work on their legal board, like, Force General? Do I want to go to a power company and work on their legal board? And then the longer I thought, I just thought to myself, no, I want to stay, small and local.
Yeah.
That is what felt like home. That is, and give back, to that area. And the thing is it's not boring. Every day is different. There's always something different, and there's always more to learn. I definitely don't know everything still. There's always something else to learn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lifelong learning.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. We all have two more questions as we start to wrap up. Probably should have asked them earlier. But one, let's start with sort of like overcoming perceptions. There have been state programs, career coaching, other efforts. But not to get anyone in trouble, but do y'all think state leaders, local leaders, elected officials are doing enough to help communicate the opportunities in the area, in the state, fight perceptions, or create new ones?
I think so. Yeah, and maybe it's just because I work with one and I see it every day, but I do think so. It's a big thing, a big topic right now, and we see it with the teacher pay raises. They're trying to go after that, and all the things to incentivize people to stay in Mississippi.
I think that our leadership has done a good job. I think everyone's thinking on the right path. I think a challenge we're always going to have is it costs money to advertise the state, and it's money you don't see. If it's going to the people who are already living here, it's going to the wrong place. You're trying to push it out. Right. We see that all the time when we do our Visit Laurel Jones County stuff. We spend money on ads and commercials and promotional material, and people are like, "Oh, where'd all this money go?" Well, if you're seeing it's the wrong place because you're already here. Mm-hmm. And so keeping the people who are funding this motivated and making sure they see the value in pushing those funds out and pushing that message out, I think that's probably always going to be a little bit of a challenge because it does take time and money and people and strategies to push those messages out and create that material and tweak it. You can't just have the same thing that you send out. The times are going to change. Right. The strategy and message need to change to keep up with just the changing world and economy. So we got to make sure we keep that a priority for the state.
Well, I will say, from my perspective, my board is so enthusiastic and hungry for any opportunity as far as economic development. We work so closely with you guys and really step by step, we're along together. And so we have been able to cut the millage rate, which I know is a huge thing for people to hear. They want to live somewhere where the taxes aren't so burdensome that they can't enjoy their lives or, at least have a decent quality of life. So my board, we've been fortunate, and a lot of that is because our assessed value has continued to grow due to these industries. We're diversifying, we're bringing in new industries, and so it's continuing to grow. And that's not the case for every place in Mississippi, but Jones County's been fortunate to have that, and that's allowed us to cut taxes every year. So I've had a very conservative board, and I think from the state they've been very proactive as far as recruiting businesses, which is great for everybody in the state, really. Whether or not we see it, we would love for everyone to come to Jones County. But
they should.
Right. And so, but we get excited, when you see a very pro-business attitude from state leadership. And so anyway, we've been fortunate in that, and I think hopefully we'll continue down that path.
Yeah, and it makes our job so much easier to have that support because if you're always trying to battle the people who are leading the county or trying to make them get on the side of what you're thinking, you're wasting half your energy there. And so we've really been fortunate to have a board of supervisors, and Danielle especially, who can sit there and listen to what we're working for and say, that's a great idea, go for it, and just support you and not kind of hold you back. So I think it's important to build those relationships and make sure that you have trust with those supervising parties and your representatives or whatever it looks like for you or your company. But, having partnerships instead of opposition in this, what should be a common goal, is really important.
Yeah. Okay, y'all. Well, I always ask if someone wants to contact you or follow you on social media or otherwise communicate, where can they find you? I'll start with you.
Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook is what I use the most.
All right. Mary Page Chambliss.
Mary Page Chambliss, yes.
Okay. All right. That's Facebook.
I don't really check my Facebook. I would say you can email me, Shelly A.
That is the best form of communication is email.
Okay. Yeah.
Or just call the office. We're always there.
All right.
Yeah, I'm on most of the things. So
Okay.
Danielle Ashley, 2 first names, that's me. So just look me up.
Yeah. Or as we were talking, maybe Daniela.
Yeah, Daniela. Yeah, if I'm feeling fun, that week. So yeah. Facebook, Instagram, I'm on.
All right.
I'm on them. Yeah.
Well, y'all, this has been so fun and enlightening. I feel like inspired by y'all. And, you kept it humorous, but as well as like brought up some really great points about perception, mentorship, investment, mentors. So thank y'all for joining. And thank you for listening or viewing this podcast episode. As always, this is produced by the Bigger Pie Forum, and I am Rebecca Staples, guest host. We'll see you next time.